By the end of 2020, it's suggested there'll be 7.8 billion people alive on the earth. It's been calculated that between 8 and 10 billion people have lived on the earth since it was created. Those figures are enormous. 1 billion is a 1 followed by 9 zeros. To put that into perspective, it would be like 1 billion seconds being 32 years. It would take 772 white vans to move 1 billion Watsits. 10 billion people. Imagine 10 billion grains of sand, 10 billion stars. Imagine 10 billion people of which you are one. One person created intimately and purposefully by the Creator himself. Now we may have problems getting our mind around such large numbers, but God has no problem at all. You remember in Matthew chapter 10 verse 29, that reassures us that when one sparrow falls to the floor, Father knows all about it. In Matthew 10:30, he knows the number of hairs on your head. That means he knows you intimately. Why? Because he has you on his mind. But do you have him on your mind? That's the big question. Our focus today is on one of the 10 billion people. Someone who had Jesus on her mind. A person with a need. Probably not much different to you and me. Someone who has a need. It may be a physical, it may be emotional, it may even be relational. Look at what she did. She did something positive. She made a connection. We all make connections every day. Catch the bus, the tube, the telephone, emails, internet, even switching the lights on. Some people, we move to a group, a club, a movement. Sometimes we even miss the opportunity to connect full stop. The account in our biblical passage is so important that it's recorded in all the synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark and Luke. But it takes place within a larger story. Jesus is on his way to a synagogue leader's house to heal his dying daughter. Check Mark 5:21 and 24 out. When an unnamed woman causes an interruption to his progress. What we know about the woman is, first, she had a bleeding condition. This has continued for 12 years. That's a long time. Second, she spent all her money on treatments from many doctors and nothing had helped. In fact, her problem had only grown worse. We also know that Jewish law declared her to be ceremonially unclean due to her bleeding issue. We can find that in Leviticus 15, verses 25 to 27. This meant that she would not have been permitted to enter the temple for Jewish religious ceremonies. According to the law, anything or anyone she touched became unclean as well. The fact that she was in the crowd, pressing around Jesus, means that each person who bumped into her would have become unclean too, including Jesus. But after 12 years of suffering, she was obviously desperate for a miracle. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Perhaps she was a woman of substance at one time. Well, now she's pretty sick. She's called the doctors, the physicians, the lotion sellers. I mean, what price do we place upon our health? Her income has not dwindled, it's been fully spent, and now it's stopped. She was financially broke, physically and emotionally broken. She was someone with a huge problem, but she knew who could solve her problem. If I just touch him. Her mind had made the mental connection. Now she needs to make the physical connection. If only I can make a connection, she must have thought. She may have had a problem, but Jesus was the problem solver. Between the problem and the problem solver, there were people. Did you hear that? Between the problem and the problem solver, there were people. People who enforce and put self-imposed limitations upon you. Restrictions and restraints upon you. People who put obstacles and barriers in front of you. People who will say to you, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't go there or stay here. People are the problem. It's people who make life difficult. It's people who we think know best. It's people who are scared you'll receive from God before they get what they've been asking for. But remember, They don't hold the answer to your problem. Only Jesus does. They don't hold the solution to your situation. Only Jesus does. They want to hold you back with rules and regulations. Jesus wants to free you up, to live again. They talk about religion because they know nothing about a relationship. Why? Because you're about, like her, to make a connection that'll change your life forever. Now, sometimes we don't connect, do we? I mean, a few days ago, my telephone and broadband, they all stopped working. And after an online test from my supplier, I examined the main box inside our home and I found a loose wire. After reconnecting it, everything worked. Sometimes we stop connecting with God. We stop reading our Bibles. We stop attending house groups. We stop attending services and prayer meetings. We stop hearing or even feeling God is around us. And it's all because we lost the connection. Not in the exchange, but right here at home, right here in the heart. When that happens, we miss opportunities. Opportunities to see the power of God at work and opportunities to be part of a miracle. But when we connect, there's a supernatural moment that sends a ricochet around the universe. That someone has connected with God and that power has left him and arrived right here. That someone just got saved. That someone just got healed. That someone just received a touch. That someone just received a word and direction in confirmation. And all because someone had the courage to make a connection. The woman thought, if. You know, in Luke 5 verse 12, the leper said to Jesus, if you're willing, you can make me clean. In Luke 4, the devil said to Jesus, if you're the Son of God, then if are simply two single letters. They make one word, a word with huge connotations. And for the woman in our passage, this is one moment, one word that can make all the difference. As soon as she touches Jesus, in fact, the scripture tells us that she only touched the hem of his garment, the tip of the tassel, but that was enough. Immediately, instantly, instantaneously, her bleeding stops and she knows within that she's been healed. In an instant, Jesus does what no doctor in 12 years has been able to do. People were pushing and pressing into him from all over, yet Jesus stops and turns and asks, who touched my clothes? The disciples were incredulous, but Jesus knew that healing power had gone out of him. Jesus' eyes find the lady. His eyes will find you too. The people said, and they must be filled with concern right now, because the man-made rules and regulations said, remember, if they came into contact with someone who was bleeding, then they couldn't enter the temple for another 7 days. For 7 days? Woman in our account has had 4,380 days where she couldn't go to the temple. But right now, she struck gold. Right now, she feels like she's won the first prize. Jesus' eyes continue to look. Friend, you and I can't steal a miracle from God. After the woman comes forward and explains herself, Jesus clears up any misconceptions about her healing. He says, daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be free from your suffering. God is moved to action by our faith, even when he's in the middle of doing something else. Friend, God is moved to action by our faith, even when he's in the middle of doing something else. Jesus could have healed that woman and kept on walking to his original destination. Only he and the woman would have known what had taken place. But he didn't do that. Jesus stopped what he was doing and acknowledged the results of this woman's faith. Her complete and instantaneous healing. In the Old Testament, the temple was where God dwelt among the Israelites. But in the New Testament, God dwelt among mankind in the person of Jesus Christ. Check out John 1 verse 14. When Jesus stopped and turned around, he demonstrated to everyone that he has the authority to reverse rules and regulations. Through Jesus, the penalties of that law are reversed, and therefore the contamination of the world had no effect on him. The woman didn't make Jesus, God's dwelling place, unclean. He made her clean. Look what happens when you just think, when you just act, and when you just reach out. A miracle takes place. When you reach out, God reaches in. When you make a move towards God, He makes a move towards you. Look what can happen when you draw near to Him. When you stretch, God supplies. When you cry out, God hears. When you call, He answers every single time. And God moves in action because of our faith. Let me rephrase that. If you will put your faith in a gear, God will move powerfully in and through you. Don't ever think you're only 1 in 7 billion. If you have Him on your mind, then you can be sure He has you on His. Friend, Jesus doesn't ignore your situation. He will stop and change direction if need be, so that the miracle that is yours can take place, so that the connection can be secure, so that His power can flow into and through you, so that the miracle can take place, so that your life will never ever be the same again. Friends, some of us have been calling out, crying out. Some of us have been reaching out. Some of us need to stretch our faith today. Some of us need to stretch our necks out, stretch out and help somebody. Today, why not make a connection with God through Jesus? Perhaps you need to make a reconnection with Him, like the woman in our passage. Have you tried everything else? Have you listened to everyone? And you're still in a place where there seems no hope. Jesus says, come. Come to me, all of you who are weak and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. So why not accept His invitation today? Why not go to Him and simply make the connection and begin to live the rest of your life knowing the power of God in and through you? Don't let anyone stop you, and don't you stop anyone either. Friend, if we put into practice what we learn from this passage, then we take a step closer to seeing the solution to our situation and the provision for our problem begin to be solved. All we have to do is make the connection. Until next time.